good evening to all the people in this hall. I must first congratulate every bank sitting in this place who have won this award or winning this award over the last few years. A lot of people are the people I know them in many of the earlier events too. As Mr. Gopalan was speaking about the tidal park chairmanship, as we met in '99 when we were in Chennai and we were looking to set up something on infrastructure, and Mr. Gopalan and we were working over there. That there's a road called OMR, Old Mahabalipuram Road, which was non-existent at that point of time, and we and TC to go and set up our centers in '97, '98, and that time Tamil Nadu government tidal park took an initiative to set up a infrastructure first as a tidal initiative. And rest is a history today. That's the new city of Chennai come up in last 13 years. And I think those are the landmark decisions which makes a difference. Mr. Damodaran was referring to some decision need to be taken. And those decisions were taken not by some policy matters or a lot of policies were discussed across the table. It was a conversation which Mr. Damodaran was pointing towards. Conversation over the dinners, over the parties, over the we need an American school here, we need an international school here. I think it was more on dinner tables. We came out with this kind of a thought process of tidal park, OMR, rather than coming with a formal policy statement in that part of the world. And I think conversation makes such a huge difference, which Mr. Damodaran has pointed out to, rather than pointing fingers, but having the conversations which revolves around how do we bring a change. We say that we service global banks. We see that Indian banks have a great advantage on technology front. Indian banks have leapfrogged the technologies 2 generations ahead of it. So we calculate there's a 4th generation of technology which is running right now. The first generation was 1970s, where American banks or European bank took on those mainframes. Second generation was something like 1985. The technology wave started, which was around small Unix systems start coming in. The third wave was sometime in 95 to 2000, the open system technology start coming in. And now there's a 4th generation which is coming in. So Indian banks suddenly jump to the 3rd wave rather than having in 1st and 2nd generation being there. So typically, just to give you a feel, when we deal with these banks globally, the typical European banks is saddled with the technologies where the technology cost per customer for a 2 million bank could be as high as 180 million euros. Imagine $110 per customer to just service technology cost compared to Indian banks where technology cost per customer could be as efficient as $1 to $3 per customer for a technology cost. What is the kind of a huge advantage window we are sitting with, the banks are sitting with the technologies today, where the technology costs are between 50 cents to $5 at the most, where Indian banks are sitting in. And if that opportunity is used not to just reach out inside the system where we need to reach to the end customer, rural areas, but to reach to the global marketplace. Why shouldn't we go to the global marketplace and use these technologies to deliver the value there? The global banks are saddled with the typical complexities which have been there between business, operation, and technologies, multiple systems, multiple products on one side, and global expansion on the second. And I think the advantage what we have in India is that we can remove those complexities because those complexities are there from a manual systems to automated system, but not across the product lines, which is there for most of the global bank across the product lines, across the customer databases, across the core banking systems. So they have all 3-dimensional technology problems. Indian banks are sitting with only 1 or 2 issues that we are not committing to as much to technologies as global bank who adopted the technology in 17 and 18, where they are saying 3% cost of revenues is only technology. Citibank may spend $5 billion per year on annualized basis, or HSBC bank would spend a similar amount of money, or a JPMC bank. I don't think a project-by-project investment in a technologies will take us to the global marketplace. What we see is The core banking systems have been implemented beautifully. As on DNB card, they are putting some numbers that we are celebrating 100,000 branches, 1 billion payment transactions electronically. We are celebrating $100 trillion of total business in rupees. I think these are the celebration points which we are celebrating. We are with 100,000 branches. How these branches, which is moved in a phase one so beautifully as the automated branches, from passive branches to active branches. Active branches to me are the branches where it is around delightful customer experience. It's around selling more products from the same infrastructure because the most of the capital has been logged into the branches. Almost 80% of the employees of the banks are logged into the branches. How do you provide operational productivity where 10 people are doing the branches? Can you run by 8 people in the branches by having a better technologies for the branches itself? How you have a better recon, first time right transactions happening in the branches, which is resulting into the lesser dispute resolution. How do you really look at it, the coexistence with the channels? So a lot of things which is happening today is mobilities, the iPads, the mobile phones, the Androids, the iPads. I think everybody is confused at how the channels can translate into business with the branches and how it will be common experience for the customer. And I think major problem which customers are facing is there's always a gap between what kind of products are offered on each channel which are different and which are not integrated. How can you use these channels to make it a branches which can be iPad-based branches? You don't need an infrastructure of what it used to be earlier. You can adjust iPad branches, go to schools and set up a branch there and do all the transaction which is there, not on a technology infrastructure. Go to hospital, set up a branch there. So new channels, new type of branches can be set up today with the 2 iPads which being taken with a cache. And those Wi-Fi connectivity can enable you to do that. This Z7 robo which is there, it's a Wi-Fi based system which could be implemented anywhere with all the devices of biometric devices, security devices can be put together, which is using that. And all this could be done with the active risk management. So I think that is a huge opportunity on making a passive branch to active branch. And second biggest opportunity, which is on global transaction banking. I think a lot of foreign banks are coming to India for capturing the global transactions of India, which is sitting with the PSU banks or Indian banks, because I think the way the internet banking become pervasive, the corporate internet banking, which requires a very different kind of infrastructure, needs to be implemented where corporate can do all the transactions. How can we principal bank from a corporate where your payroll transaction to a liquidity transaction, to the treasury transaction, to the trade finance transaction to be taken from captured from a same place, and for that bank has to provide infrastructure to the corporate where multiple people have a limited access for what function they are doing. Today they are maybe doing it as a corporate internet banking, but this is one place which is being done there. If a corporate has got 500 employees in a finance department, you need a localized services which is available like an app on iPhone. So it's like a multiple apps can be given. There's a payroll app or a transaction app. How can you provide that? And these kind of services we are seeing, various large banks are providing those services or started to provide services. I think with Indian banks, with the kind of a technology investments they have made, or advantage they have, which is called global transaction banking business in a marketplace. In Europe and America, it's called global transaction banking business. So that's a big opportunity to invest into that technology infrastructure after they made an investment into core banking infrastructure. So these two technology infrastructure, if are invested along with active branches, I see a great opportunities for which can enable banks to grow at the same pace of 15%, what numbers Sampath has highlighted. I think we can make it, as soon as we start going global, I think there's a huge amount of opportunity which is available for Indian banks to grow 15% to 20%. One, to go inside the country, and second is to go outside the country and capture the transaction from there. So looking forward to more good stories from each bank performances, what we'll be celebrating today evening. for winning the best awards in each category. So those stories are definitely dear to me because each story has got something which is uniquely done by each bank, and those are the learning processes for us at Polaris, where we learn from those practices and try to implement those practices and into technology and burn those mysteries which we have solved into algorithms. And those algorithms which we want to deliver through our design thinking to the application which we build for you. Thank you very much for the support which you provide and innovation you do, which we capture into our technology system. Thank you very much.